Okay, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a really good one here. This is the Alienware 16 Area-51 gaming laptop, brand new for 2026. Now, remember, last year they brought back the Area-51 branding, and they brought back this one. And of course, physically, it's not going to be very different from last year. In fact, I think it's physically the same, but it does have an upgraded display. In fact, we have an OLED display this time around, 240 hertz with 32% less glare and reflection over the previous iteration. And of course, the fact they're going with OLED over IPS means you're going to get deeper blacks, richer, vibrant colors, and of course, the really high contrast that OLED brings. So that's a really nice change. It also is running Intel's latest and greatest in the Arrow Lake HX processor for 2026. It's the Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX Plus. Now, the Plus is going to give you a little bit more performance, not a huge difference from last year, maybe 10-12% over last year. Didn't see a huge increase in that department, but of course, this is more iterative in terms of the update, not revolutionary. But the big thing here is this gorgeous OLED display that we're going to talk about here today. Now, this, of course, is going to come in at a pretty high price, which is no surprise considering these are some of the more premium gaming laptops on the market. And of course, with the RAM apocalypse upon us, where everything is just sky high in terms of pricing, whether it be storage, RAM, overall laptop prices, $4,250 as configured here today. And of course, that could change at any moment. We don't know the way things are with the RAM apocalypse. If you have last year's model, just to cut to the chase, do you need to upgrade? Probably not. Although if you want the latest and greatest, then check it out, especially if you want an OLED display with 32% less glare and reflection. And, you know, OLED is amazing with that 240 hertz refresh rate, 0.2 millisecond response time. So if you're serious about gaming on a laptop, this is one you definitely want to check out. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Alienware 16 Area-51 gaming laptop, brand new for 2026. Coming up. All right, let's talk about the build and design. And this has a liquid teal finish. It's an anodized aluminum. You can see it here. It's the same we saw last year. It does show some fingerprints, but not too bad. And it's a pretty gorgeous design. I absolutely like this design quite a bit. You know, some people may or may not like it. I don't know. I think it looks gorgeous. You can open it with one finger. If you got there's a little groove there, perfectly done there. No screen wobble whatsoever. So that is really good. And it goes back as far as you see here. Now, of course, you have that lighting. And again, this liquid teal is pretty gorgeous in terms of a color, not over the top with the lighting and all this stuff. I think it's just right as far as what they were aiming for. And it's a really, really good design, in my opinion. Of course, it's purely subjective, but let me know your thoughts on the design in the comments section below. Now, let's get a measurement of the weight. All right, with just the unit alone, we're looking at 3.319 kilograms, and that is 7 pounds, 5.1 ounces. Now, with the included 360 watt power supply, you can see the size over here in terms of the dimensions. And with the power cord, let's see what total travel weight we get. 9 pounds, 8.1 ounces, and back into kilograms, 4.313 kilograms for a total travel weight. So it has a little bit of heft, but obviously this packs a major punch under the hood. All right, let's check out the port selection. On the left side is a full-size SD card reader and a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack. On the back is where all the main ports are, 3 USB-A ports, 2 Thunderbolt 5 ports that are full function, supporting data charge, display out. They support 100-watt charging power delivery, so that is good. HDMI 2.1 and your power port right there for your 360-watt charger. Uses a barrel pin connection. And then on the right side, that is, there's nothing there as far as that is concerned. So that is the port selection. No gigabit Ethernet LAN port or anything like that. So I kind of wish it did have that, but other than that, an excellent port selection. And having the ports on the back over here means most of the wires are going to be out of the way. In fact, all of them are out of the way. So that is good. Of course, You want to have a mouse on either the right or left side, no wires to contend with. Now, this has the optional Cherry MX ultra low profile keyboard. It's got the Cherry MX switches, which I absolutely love. I used it last year, and I'm glad to see it as an option here this time around as well. It has 1.8 millimeters of key travel and is a pleasure to type on. Now, let's give it a little bit of an example of typing on it to hear how it sounds, and let me check out my accuracy on it. Okay, as you can see, 76 words per minute. As I use it more, I'll get faster. Really accurate, 97%. Probably go up a little bit higher there. Of course, really, really a pleasure to type on this Cherry MX Ultra Low Profile keyboard. Again, 1.8 millimeters of key travel. And when it comes to the touchpad, it is not overly sized. It's not haptic, but it is pretty responsive here. Pinch to zoom, the gestures all work very well. Now, would I like the haptic? Maybe. And it is not, again, not the biggest thing here. Now, it does light up in this beautiful teal color, but that is all controlled. You can control that, I believe, in the settings, but it goes off when you're not using it. And I got to say, it's a pretty good touchpad here. No issue with that. And of course, you could always use a gaming mouse when you want to use that. So you have some options there. All right, let's talk about the display, and this is something new. They are now offering this with an OLED panel as opposed to the IPS. Now, this is pretty gorgeous. Resolution of 2560 by 1600, 240 hertz in terms of the refresh rate, 0.2 millisecond response time. And as you can see, I have a lot of studio lights. You can see less glare, less reflection. In fact, we're looking at 32% less glare than last year. So 32% less, I'll take it. And of course, I'm a big sucker for matte displays, especially when paired with OLED. So as far as this for gaming, you're going to have the 240 hertz refresh rate, the 0.2 millisecond response time. It's going to be great for gaming and for content creation because it has excellent coverage of the color gamut. It is also color accurate. It has all the hallmarks of an OLED display. The deep blacks, the super vibrant colors, the really high contrast. If you're going to do Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, this is an excellent panel to get those kind of tasks done. When you're not gaming, you can get work done on this. Very versatile in terms of this laptop. The display to me is pretty great. And I love the fact that they're now going with this really great OLED panel. Let me know your thoughts on the display and their option to go with OLED here for 2026. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Okay, let's talk performance here, and we're not seeing a huge increase year over year. So this is running the latest from Intel, the Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX Plus meaning it's going to have a little bit more performance here over last year's Arrow Lake HX. So this is definitely going to be good, but it's not going to be a huge increase, like I said. So you're looking at about 10 to 12% increase year over year. So when we look at single thread, multi-thread performance, we're not seeing a huge difference. We are seeing some differences though, more of an increase, but nothing to say, wow, I need to go out and buy this over last year's model. So if you have last year's model, I don't think there's any compelling reason unless you want to get the OLED display, which I think is pretty major when you think about it. But other than that, performance-wise, about 10 to 12% better than last year. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But we're also running, obviously, the NVIDIA RTX 5080 GPU. You can go up to the 5090. Now, the 5080 on this model is fed 175 watts in terms of power. It also has 16 gigabytes of that LPDDR7 video memory. So that's going to be good for the gaming. Obviously, we know the 5080 quite well. So you're not going to see a huge difference year over year. You will see some difference, but nothing too over the top. So again, like I said, if you have last year's model, I don't know if there's a compelling reason other than the OLED panel offering to actually upgrade, although it is pretty good. But if you don't have last year's model and you want to get the latest and greatest from Alienware, this is obviously a no-brainer. Of course, it is going to cost a lot of money, but that's to be expected here in 2026. Doing things like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, all handled really easily by this, obviously. And of course, content creation, Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve. I was able to run the DaVinci Resolve benchmark from Puget Bench, and it actually did pretty well. Obviously, getting a very good score, rendering 4K video without any issues. I had very good results in DaVinci Resolve with this, so that has been very good with that Puget Bench. So now that being said, what about gaming? Is of course that's the first and foremost thing you're going to do with this. It's going to be very similar. It's not going to have a huge increase, although having the slight increase in terms of CPU performance will aid in actually getting a little bit better performance. But GPU-wise, we're not seeing a huge difference, and it is obviously very capable playing AAA titles, obviously having the 240 hertz refresh rate, the 0.2 millisecond response time, is going to give you a very good overall gaming experience. Frame generation, all that stuff is here. That's going to give you even better performance numbers overall. So whether you want frame generation or not, that's up to you. But again, having the discrete GPU up to a 5090, I have the 5080 here. So really good options there. And I think as far as a gaming laptop, 16 inches, this certainly is pretty amazing. Now, when it comes to the surface temperatures, I didn't notice it get overly hot when I put this under heavy load. Where you place your fingers on the keyboard remain relatively cool, and on the underside remain relatively cool as well. Now, they are using a cryo chamber type of cooling solution here that seems to be pretty effective. And when I ran my stress test, I didn't notice it throttle under heavy load. That has been very good as well. So it's good to see that. And fan noise will just depend on which mode you're in. Of course, if you're in the overdrive mode, that will be the loudest. But of course, if you're going to go to the quiet mode, it will be much quieter under heavy load, as well as when you go to balance, then to performance. I think you get the picture. So of course, with the overdrive, that will be the loudest in terms of the fan noise. This portion of the video is brought to you by Razer and the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad, which is an intelligent cooling stand that keeps things cool when things heat up. Now, this features smart cooling, which intelligently adjusts fan speeds based on system temperatures, has an airtight pressure chamber, which foam seals drive cool air using a 140 millimeter fan. It works with most laptops, supports Windows and Mac laptops from 13 inches to 18 inches. It has presets and custom fan curves to personalized cooling profiles with Razer Synapse. It has 3-port USB-A hub, which connects to more devices, which gives you more versatility, and has remappable multifunction buttons, which controls fan speeds, lighting, and more. Now, to show this in action, I ran the Cyberpunk 2077 benchmark at the full 2560 by 1600 resolution. And as you can see, it went from 149 frames per second to 154 frames per second. So you're looking at about a 5 frames per second increase with the laptop cooling pad. Now, keep in mind, that was set at 3200 RPM. And of course, the Steel Nomad light test that I ran with the 3D Mark there, 175 to 181. So that is pretty good. And also an improved 3D Mark Time Spy score. So not only is this keeping the components nice and cool, temperatures nice and cool, but it's also giving you better performance. So that is a win-win in my book. Now, for those interested in the Razer Laptop Cooling Pad, I will have a link in the description below. Yes, it is an affiliate link. I do get a small commission. That certainly helps support the channel. And I want to thank Razer for sponsoring this segment of the video. Okay, let's see what's inside. Obviously, there's this window here giving you a peek inside, but of course, there are 8 Phillips head screws. I've already removed those 2. Let's remove these, and I'll be right back. Okay, before I take it off, these are captive. These are not, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so we have to use a plastic pry tool here. I'm using the back of this one, and we're supposed to get this off here, so let's see. Okay, I pried it off, and here is the bottom. Let's put that to the side. Okay, here we are with the 4 fans you can see here. So that's going to help with the cooling. They got the 2 RAM slots here. So DIMM A, DIMM B, and that you can go up to 64 gigabytes according to their specs. And then you have 2 SSD slots right there and 1 over here. So you have a total of theoretically 12 terabytes that you could put on this. So that's great for storage in terms of options. And again, pretty well laid out internals here. The Wi-Fi card is soldered in, so that is not upgradable for those wondering, but it is Wi-Fi 7. So that is the latest and greatest. Now, you'll also notice here the 96 watt-hour battery. That is right there. You notice the 2 bottom-facing speakers over here. And overall, a well-laid-out internals here by Alienware. Now, when it comes to battery, well, like most gaming laptops, not the strong suit here. I ran the Procyon Office productivity test, and I got 2 hours and 17 minutes. Not the greatest result there. And of course, I ran the video playback, 3 hours and 6 minutes. So really, you want to bring the 360 watt power supply with you. That's going to add a little bit of weight, as we showed you, but you will get the most out of it, and that's going to give the maximum performance. Now, the two Thunderbolt 5 ports, the USB-C ports on the back, support 100-watt power delivery, so you can use that in terms of USB-C charging. But of course, the 360 watts will give you the most power to run in overdrive and stuff like that. So 2 hours and change is what you're going to get on this in real-world usage. At most, gaming, you're probably looking at about an hour, maybe an hour and a half at most. So again, not a surprise here when it comes to the battery life. All right, as you can see, I have Linux up and running over here. This is Fedora, so I'm booting off of this flash drive right there, and everything seems to be working. I'm on Firefox here. But of course, you have the camera that's working here. Now, the sound is not working, but I think if I did a full install, I think that will be solved. Wi-Fi is working. Bluetooth seems to be working. So everything seems to be working. So the touchpad, the keyboard, everything is on point here. The only thing, again, is the sound I could not get working as of right now. But of course, the camera's working right there. You can see it right there. So Linux is doable on this. This is Fedora Linux. I still need to test others like Ubuntu and other distros, but Linux seems to be very doable on this unit. Now, when it comes to audio, this has quad speakers, 2 woofers, 2 tweeters at a peak of 10 watts of output. So you're going to get some pretty good sound out of it. Of course, let's give it a listen. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Alienware 16 Area-51 gaming laptop here for 2026? And it's not a big upgrade in terms of performance, numbers, CPU, GPU-wise over last year, maybe 10 to 15% or 10 to 12%. CPU and GPU is going to be more or less the same. Again, you're not looking at a huge increase year over year, and I think that's not a surprise with this Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX Plus, right? So the Plus gives you that little bit of performance boost year over year. And again, single thread, multi-thread is excellent. So this is going to be your workhorse really for both work and play. So you can do your productivity work, Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, and of course, doing the gaming. You could do content creation in Lightroom, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, things like that. This is going to be very, very good. Speakers are good on this. Not the best I've ever heard. Of course, it has up to a peak of 10 watts of power with the quad speakers, 2 woofers, 2 tweeters. Keyboard's great with the Cherry MX ultra low profile switches here. So this is going to be great. 1.8 millimeters of key travel. That has been very good. The touchpad, not haptic, but very good. Lights up for a little bit of an aesthetic look there. Of course, scrolling, doing all the gestures was fine with it. Again, mechanical worked pretty well. And then the ports are really good. 2 Thunderbolt 5 on the back. A host of other ports, including HDMI, no gigabit LAN port. You'll have to use a dongle for that. Full-size SD card reader, always welcome. The really beautiful design here in this title teal, really gorgeous anodized aluminum overall build. Chassis is pretty amazing in terms of the build quality, no screen wobble. But I think the biggest upgrade year over year is going to be this move to an optional OLED display. This, of course, 240 hertz refresh rate, 0.2 millisecond response time, and 32% less glare. That is a big, big win. So you're not dealing with a lot of unnecessary glare and reflection. So this OLED is really good for content creation, for gaming. Again, 240 hertz, 0.2 millisecond response time. That has been very good. Overall, a really nice design here, a really nice outing here by Alienware. However, the price is, of course, very expensive, but it's always been expensive with Alienware, and I think you get what you pay for. Obviously, we're in the RAM apocalypse where prices are very high, so it seems that they've been able to stabilize it a little bit, of course, as configured here today with the specs I have on this model, $4,250 or so. So again, not cheap, but of course, these never have been cheap to begin with. But the diehard Alienware fans will be happy with this move to OLED. Not a huge performance increase is the bottom line. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, Alienware or Dell sent this over. I'm not being paid or being sponsored by them, so just so you know. But once this is done, I will be sending this back. So those of you wondering what I do with these laptops, most of the time I send them back, obviously, back to where they came from. So really good stuff here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below.